know there's things that we can do better.
I don't want him in Cleveland.
Stefanski did not let him try one pass.
I don't trust him in Cleveland.
I know there's things that he can do better. We'll look at it.
There's been too much resistance he can move on from.
The Cleveland Browns suffered a humiliating loss to the Chicago Bears, and the problems were obvious from the opening drive. The offense never found rhythm, never found confidence, and never showed any sense of direction. Every possession felt predictable, slow, and boxed in. The game plan collapsed almost immediately, leaving fans frustrated and analysts shaking their heads. Across the league, the reaction has been nearly unanimous. Kevin Stefanski continues to restrict Shedeur Sanders instead of empowering him.
I'm just of the mindset that he has not been put in the most ideal of circumstances to succeed. And I don't think that's by accident. And I just think it would be best for him to move.
Time and time again, Shedeur was denied the opportunity to attack tight windows or test the defense vertically. Stefanski's approach leaned heavily on caution, even when the situation demanded aggression. Instead of trusting his quarterback's arm talent, he opted for conservative play calls that limited creativity. That hesitation showed up most clearly in the red zone, where Shedeur was instructed to play it safe rather than capitalize on scoring opportunities. What once seemed like cautious coaching has now turned into a clear pattern. Stefanski's decisions consistently prevent Shedeur Sanders from operating freely. Rather than allowing him to grow and adapt in real time, the system keeps him contained.
I don't want him in Cleveland. I don't trust him in Cleveland. I think that there's too much that has happened. There's been too much resistance can move on from. Let them find somebody they're comfortable with and they want. Because to me, I don't think that's the ideal situation for him.
The result is an offense that feels restrained, predictable, and disconnected from its quarterback's strengths. Once the game ended, the criticism came fast. Stephen A. Smith openly questioned Stefanski's handling of Shedeur Sanders, pointing out that the quarterback was never placed in a position to succeed. From the opening snap, the odds were stacked against him. The scheme appeared designed to limit damage instead of creating opportunities. That approach made it nearly impossible for Shedeur to settle into the game or build momentum. Smith also raised the idea that Shedeur's long-term success might require a change of scenery. A quarterback with his arm talent needs a system that leans into what he does best. Instead, Stefanski stuck stubbornly to a run-heavy plan against the Bears, even as it failed to produce results.
It's the 3 plays that Shedeur ran. Stefanski did not let him try one pass. I'm a big fan of throwing out of your end zone when you're backed up deep.
Meanwhile, Shedeur showed flashes of his ability to stretch the field, yet those moments were rarely explored. Adding to the frustration, the receiving group struggled to make an impact. Separation was limited, timing was off, and mistakes piled up. Every time Shedeur tried to step up and deliver from the pocket, something broke down around him. Still, when he was allowed to push the ball downfield, his talent was undeniable. Some of the brightest moments of the game came from Shedeur's deep throws. Even under pressure, he delivered accurate passes with confidence. He continued to compete, continued to fight, and continued to give his team a chance. The loss exposed more than just execution issues. It raised serious questions about whether the coaching staff is allowing Shedeur Sanders to become the quarterback he is capable of being. The wide receivers made the night far more difficult than it needed to be for Shedeur Sanders. One particular play highlighted the problem clearly. Shedeur dropped back, scanned the defense, and delivered a perfectly placed pass to Harold Fannin Jr. The ball arrived on time and on target, showing exactly what he can do when things align. Unfortunately, that moment was the exception, not the standard. On most other attempts, open spaces disappeared quickly. Routes lacked sharpness, timing was inconsistent, and defenders closed gaps before plays could fully develop. That reality points away from the quarterback and straight toward the structure of the offense. The breakdown was not about Shedeur missing reads. It was about an offensive design that failed to support it.
Shedeur did not have his starting center, his starting right guard, or his starting right tackle. Fact. Chicago went into this game running away with turnover differential.
Skip Bayless added fuel to the criticism by focusing on how little protection Shedeur had. He emphasized that Shedeur was playing without a right guard, without David Njoku, and without the starting right tackle. That level of attrition demands adjustment. Instead, Stefanski kept the plan intact as if the personnel was unchanged. Shedeur was left standing in a collapsing pocket with limited options and no safety net. As pressure mounted, the offense grew visibly uncomfortable. Communication in the huddle looked tense, and confidence faded with each stalled drive. Still, Stefanski made no meaningful changes to help settle his quarterback. There were no added blockers, no quick release concepts, and no effort to slow the defensive rush. The burden stayed on Shedeur alone. Bayless continued to press the issue, pointing out that Shedeur was rarely given the freedom to look downfield. The pocket remained tight and congested, even though the offensive line was struggling to hold up. Stefanski appeared fully aware of the mismatch up front, yet chose to remain stubborn.
I know there were challenging conditions, offensive line problems, and all things like that.
Yeah, challenging. I mean, it's incomplete till I can look at it, obviously, but I know there's things that we can do better. I know there's things that he can do better. We'll look at it.
That decision limited Shedeur's ability to use his vision and arm strength effectively. Then came the play that summed up the night. Shedeur adjusted instantly after the snap and spotted Jerry Jeudy near the end zone. The throw was tight, precise, and decisive. Jeudy failed to secure the catch, turning a clear scoring opportunity into another empty possession. It was a moment that reinforced the larger theme of the game. Afterward, Jeudy acknowledged that the ball was catchable and that he should have finished the play.
Ball that you expect to get to his locker? Yeah. No. I think Shedeur do a good pass. You know, it's a good football player overall by him.
That admission stood in contrast to the coaching response. Once again, Shedeur delivered under pressure, while the support around him failed to match his effort. The tape tells a clear story of a quarterback doing his part while battling circumstances that never eased. Jerry Jeudy accepted responsibility for his mistake and made sure the attention stayed in the right place. He emphasized that Shedeur Sanders played well and that the outcome should not be placed on the quarterback's shoulders. By owning the missed opportunity, Jeudy shifted focus away from Shedeur and toward execution. In a game filled with confusion and breakdowns, that moment of accountability stood out. That support, however, did not come from the head coach. Kevin Stefanski offered no public backing for Shedeur Sanders after the loss. When asked about the conditions Shedeur was dealing with, Stefanski minimized the situation. He suggested the circumstances were manageable and implied that better performance was expected. That response raised immediate concern. The disconnect was hard to ignore. Shedeur was playing behind a depleted offensive line, under constant pressure, and with receivers struggling to finish plays. Despite those factors, Stefanski chose to frame the performance as something that could have been improved by the quarterback alone. That stance placed responsibility downward instead of upward. Criticism followed quickly. Analysts began questioning Stefanski's leadership and his willingness to protect his quarterback publicly. Many argued that backing Shedeur would not excuse the loss but would show accountability and trust. Instead, the response felt dismissive. Stefanski is now facing growing scrutiny for how he handled Shedeur Sanders during the loss to the Chicago Bears. From the opening drive, the offense looked unprepared. The scheme lacked flexibility, and adjustments never came. Fans and analysts alike are questioning whether the approach actively hurt Shedeur's chances to succeed. Despite flashes of strong arm talent and calm decision-making, Shedeur was confined to a narrow playbook. Stefanski leaned heavily on the run game and kept the pocket tight, preventing Shedeur from fully surveying the field. That decision limited opportunities for explosive plays and stalled momentum repeatedly. What makes the situation more frustrating is that Shedeur showed he could adapt. He made smart reads, delivered accurate throws under pressure, and stayed composed despite the chaos around him. Yet the system never evolved to meet him halfway. As the conversation continues, the focus is shifting away from the loss itself and toward the handling of Shedeur Sanders. Leadership is being questioned. Trust is being questioned. And the relationship between quarterback and coach is now under a microscope. The tape does not just show a bad game, it shows a failure to support the most important position on the field. It became increasingly clear that Shedeur Sanders was operating under extreme conditions throughout the game. He played without his starting offensive line and without key contributors like David Njoku. Those absences reshaped the offense in real time, yet Kevin Stefanski made no significant effort to adjust. Protection schemes stayed the same, play calls remained rigid, and Shedeur was left to manage the chaos on his own. Rather than adapting, Stefanski distanced himself from the outcome. When questioned about the environment Shedeur was playing in, he downplayed the impact. He suggested the situation was not as difficult as it appeared and implied that more could have been done by the quarterback. That response immediately drew criticism. Many viewed the comments as an attempt to redirect blame. Instead of acknowledging the limitations created by injuries and personnel losses, Stefanski placed responsibility on Shedeur. That decision strained public perception and raised concerns about accountability within the coaching staff. The reaction from analysts was swift. Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless both criticized Stefanski for failing to support his quarterback. They pointed to the lack of adjustments and the refusal to acknowledge obvious disadvantages. Their message was consistent. A quarterback cannot thrive when left exposed, especially against a defense that knows exactly what is coming. Jerry Jeudy offered a sharp contrast. After failing to secure a crucial catch, he admitted fault and made it clear that Shedeur was not to blame. That moment reinforced a growing belief that the quarterback was not the root of the problem. Instead, it highlighted the difference between taking responsibility and avoiding it. Across the league, the sentiment is becoming clear. Stefanski's decisions played a major role in how the game unraveled. The run-heavy approach ignored Shedeur's strengths. The tight pocket limited his vision. The refusal to adapt amplified every weakness around him. Now the debate has shifted. Was the game plan the primary reason Shedeur struggled against the Chicago Bears, or is the blame being unfairly assigned? Can any quarterback be judged harshly when protection is missing and weapons are sidelined? Should the head coach have taken ownership of the conditions his quarterback faced? The questions continue to grow louder, and at the center of it all is Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback fighting uphill while the support around him remains under intense scrutiny. When everything is stripped down, the situation surrounding Shedeur Sanders comes back to one core issue: opportunity. Quarterbacks live and die by the environments they are placed in. And right now, Shedeur is being asked to survive instead of being set up to succeed. The talent is visible on film. The arm strength, the poise, the ability to throw accurately under pressure are all there. What is missing is a system willing to lean into those strengths. Against the Chicago Bears, Shedeur was put in one of the toughest positions a young quarterback can face. A broken offensive line, missing key playmakers, and a rigid game plan created a narrow path to success. Instead of widening that path, the coaching staff stayed locked into a conservative approach that offered little margin for error. Every snap felt like Shedeur had to be perfect just to keep the offense afloat. What makes the situation more frustrating is that the flashes were undeniable. When allowed to push the ball downfield, Shedeur delivered. When forced to play within a tight pocket with limited options, the offense stalled. That contrast tells the story clearly. This was not a lack of ability, it was a lack of support. The reaction after the game only added fuel to the conversation. Teammates stepped up and owned their mistakes. Analysts pointed out the structural flaws, yet the coaching response felt disconnected from what the tape showed. Accountability matters at every level, especially when developing a quarterback who is expected to lead the franchise forward. Now the spotlight is brighter than ever. Fans are asking hard questions. Analysts are revisiting every decision, and the pressure is building around how Shedeur Sanders is being handled. This is no longer just about one loss. It is about direction, leadership, and whether the Browns are maximizing the talent they have under center. Moments like this define careers. They reveal whether an organization adapts or stays stubborn, whether a coaching staff evolves or digs in deeper. Shedeur's future will be shaped not only by his performance, but by the choices made around him. That is why stories like this matter. Context matters, film matters, details matter, and that is exactly where Huddle Files comes in. If you want deeper breakdowns, real analysis, and conversations that go beyond the surface takes, Huddle Files is where it happens. This is where the full picture comes together, play by play, decision by decision. The saga of Shedeur Sanders is still being written. The next chapter depends on whether the system around him finally catches up to the talent he continues to show every time he steps on the field. And you already know. We'll have every second of it broken down, every twist, every leak, every hidden play behind the headlines. So like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share it out. Stay locked in with Huddle Files, where the real NFL stories live.